at least a year because they're very well, not used that often.
Mr. Barrows, you're up next. And it's a discussion in regards to Mashpee Pickleball Courts, and it's Ernie Barrows.
I don't know if you want me to, I'll just sit down. Ernie Barrows, 201 Shumet Road. I've been here before on this issue. It's about the noise from the pickleball park. It has really gotten way out of hand. It's gotten a lot worse, and it is, I'm just telling you, it's really, really bad. It's gotten to the point where it starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and goes till 7:30 at night. I mean, it's just repetitive. To try to make it easy for you to understand, just picture yourself sitting on your deck or in your yard, relaxing, and someone taking a machine gun and just going from 8 o'clock in the morning till 7:30 at night. And there are people lining up out of that park, and pickleball has been compared to a gunshot, without question. I've got information showing how this has gotten so loud, it's gotten past the health code for nuisance noise, which is at about 50 decibels. And some of these readings are up around 88 and 89 decibels. And these hits are not one a minute or one every 30 seconds. This is about one hit per quarter second and constant. It has gotten a lot worse. I've been complaining about this for years, and it's truly affecting my health at this point. And I was just hoping that I could come here tonight and ask if you can shut this park down until we can come up with a feasible solution to what's going on. The noise levels, this is a gentleman from Falmouth, Rob Mascherani, who was a neighbor of the pickleball park and has quite a bit of information and can maybe explain it to you a little bit differently as me. But my biggest concern is getting this shut down till we can figure out a solution for this. What's there for any type of sheeting on that, and that's basically what it is that they put up on that wall on the fencing, is sheeting. It's not by any means any soundproofing or anything. And if anything, it's escalated the noise. And in your own report that you had done on that, that's exactly what the results turned out to be. I did talk to New England Soundproofing and talk to the gentleman there, and this has become a huge problem, not just in these towns. This is going statewide and nationwide, and the sound is just really emanating from that park over to me like you're sitting there with a bullhorn. In your own report, it did say in there that you had done on the soundproofing, which was not a pickleball study by any means. And I do have a study, a true study of what a pickleball study looks like. It brings up a lot of points of what should be done. And I did talk to the company, New England Soundproofing, and talk to a specialist there. And he said those parks should not be put up without at least a 20-foot wall outside with proper insulation and soundproofing, with a roof fully enclosed. This was right from the soundproofing expert. And Rob has been working with one of the leading gentlemen on the pickleball sound in this country, on taking readings and everything else. And if I can introduce you to him and have him explain and show you in actual graphs and facts where this has exceeded the federal and state limits.
Well, if you don't mind, I don't mind hearing from you again, but just because you're not a Mashpee resident, if you don't mind, could we just get right to the point if you don't mind?
Okay, yeah, that would be fine.
That's, thank you.
Yeah, sorry to take all the positivity out of the room. We were flying very high, and we want to get down real low, and we want to look at the people. We want to look at people like Ernie Barrows. I've connected with Ernie Barrows near pickleball courts across the country. I do live in Falmouth. We are fighting the pickleball courts. At the Lawrence courts, we shut down the Lawrence School pickleball court, and with an injunction, and the town went to dismiss the injunction, and another judge found that we were able to keep that injunction. So we have two judges with a very favorable outcome before we go to trial, our pretrial hearing October 21st. All that is to say that I work with Lance Willis of Tucson. He is of Spendarian and Willis. He is out of Tucson, and he is the nationally recognized go-to guy for understanding pickleball noise, impulse noise, gunshots, little brother. I took some measurements using some of not using, Amazon's most reviewed sound level meter. And I'm not using my iPhone. I'm using NTI, latest, greatest Type 1 sound level meter. And I got some readings that were very concerning. I do have a graph that shows very clearly that there is violations occurring at these courts. And I was at 240 feet at Ernie's driveway. And the allowable decibel level is 10 dB over ambient. Now, where Ernie lives was perhaps as quiet as a library, at 40, right? Or even 35. But let's be fair. Let's say it's 40 or 45, and I have very clearly can show you that we're not very technical here. We're very old school, but I could pass these around. But the top graph has the x-axis.
Is this the same one?
Yes. At 50 dB.
50.
And when I recorded the sound in Ernie's driveway, it was at 9:40, and what you see there is a 10-minute snapshot, but I have a reading that goes from 9 o'clock to noontime. And this snapshot will show you that all the players are playing are responsible for those hits above 50 dB. The graph below at 11 o'clock, the court is vacant. There's a helicopter right there. There's a spike, and there's a couple of other little outliers from, Ernie does live near Joint Base, so there is a fair share of noise there, very different noise. But I'm here to support Ernie. I'm here to support people. It's the craziest thing. So since I became involved with Falmouth, I become somehow the spokesman for this problem, reluctantly, for certain. But I've gotten a lot of press: New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Cape Cod Times, Boston Globe, CNN, ABC News, Nightline just called me, and they're going to be interviewing me July 29th. I have an interview with the Daily Beast tomorrow morning. And this is all to talk about why people aren't talking about the pickleball noise. I think that this is a good opportunity for the town of Mashpee to do something very worthwhile for one of its tax-paying citizens. Not one, but a neighborhood of. Make the wrong a right. And look, I have a master's in public health. I do come from a high degree of empathy, so I do reach out to people like Ernie. I do reach out to a lot of different people. That's why I'm here. So there's a lot that people don't talk about with pickleball noise. You told me to keep it short, but I can talk about the frequency. I can talk about the amplitude. I can talk about the number of hits. The number of hits, like as Ernie indicated, really with the courts at Mashpee, 2.5 hits per second is to be expected. What do you get at 2.5 hits per second? You get 150 hits per minute, 9,000 hits an hour, and Ernie and his neighbors, one of them moved, have endured 100,000 hits during a day, 100,000 pops. What people fail to understand is that the frequency of this pop at 1,000 hertz occurs in the very sensitive hearing range. It's like a knock at the door, hearing a twig break. These are very primal kind of noises that we've learned to use in our sensory world that's going to give us important information. It raises the blood pressure. It quickens the pulse. Anxiety sets in when exposed to this frequency, the randomness and the number of pops. So, what's our secret sauce here, in Falmouth? Why are we winning this case? Well, frankly, people are measuring impulse noise, pickleball's pop, gunshots, little brother, improperly. It comes to a peak at 2 milliseconds. And in order to measure that, you have to measure it within that time frame. Now, if you measure it over 1/10 of a second, you are now looking at a little bit more than tennis, which is what people say. I was always wondering why I could hear it when I'm mowing the lawn. I lived 350 feet away from the courts at Lawrence School. I moved. My friends, my neighbors are still are fighting this. But thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about this. And I mean, if you have any questions, like I said, I think it's a great opportunity to take control of this. Let's turn that park into Pickleball Central. Light it up, maybe enclose it. I don't know, sell hamburgers. You can, anything goes. I don't think Ernie's going to mind a building next door to him, nor the traffic.
All right.
Thank you.
It is bad. I can't express that enough. It's been taxing on me. This has been going on for 5 years, but in this past season, since they closed that park in Falmouth, they have been sending people here to Mashpee. And just so you understand, when I say from 8 o'clock in the morning till 7:30 at night, there aren't many breaks. I pray for rain. It does
I get
sound
it.
funny, doesn't it? It's awful.
It is.
I worked my life to get this house. I built down there because it was peaceful. It was nice. I was the first house on that road. I know what it is to be peaceful. That's why I chose that. I have conformed to just about anything that I could do to help my neighbors, to do anything. I've even policed the area down there. I'm looking for some peace that I would like. I bought that property. I worked my butt off my whole life to get there myself. I had it. It was taken away from me for no reason. This goes on 8 o'clock in the morning, like somebody's sitting there with a machine gun, dum, 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 and it does not stop. And I am not exaggerating. If anything, it's slower with that noise. You've got to understand how bad it is. I'm not asking you to get rid of it completely. I'm asking you, please, shut the park down until we can come up with a feasible solution. And I am willing to help Mr. Collins figure out and do. I have so much knowledge here that I've spent thousands of hours doing my research. I thought there was going to be a study that you guys could see and understand that, but that study that was done was basically just on what you put up on those walls of the fencing. That was not a study on pickleball. I saw him and had a meeting with Mr. Collins on Friday, showed him that study that was done, a true study that was done in Manchester by the Sea. This is a proper pickleball noise study. It does lay out a lot of different areas, and actually, they only have 6 courts there. We've got 8 here. There is a lot more traffic here than there is there, and you're welcome to look at this. I can't have you make a copy of this at all. From what I just found out this evening, that this was paid for by the town of Manchester by the Sea, and you can access this to get all this information on what they suggest. But like I said, I did research a lot of it. If you want to look at this, I can pass this around so you can look at it and briefly look at it. And it will show some of the pictures and adjacent to the courts, to the affected houses with distances and everything else. And my house is closer than a number of those houses right there. Basically set up the same way. But what I would really like to do is I would like to get these courts shut down. I'm not saying forever.
You gotta stay at the mic, Ernie.
I thought I would be loud enough. But I would like to get these courts shut down until we can come up with a proper solution, which probably should have been done before these courts were even built, but that's kind of a moot point right now. What I would like to do is get the courts shut down, figure out as quickly as you possibly can so you can do whatever, but this court needs to be enclosed with the proper insulation, and these walls, as a minimum, said from the soundproofing experts at New England Soundproofing that did it on your fence. I talked to one of the gentlemen there, which is a sound expert, and he said the walls should be a minimum of 20 feet high with a roof fully enclosed with the proper sound absorbing insulation in there. Right now it has nothing. If you're familiar with a bullhorn, like I had said before, that's what it's doing now. In the report that was written here, sound was bouncing off the open end, and those actual sheeting that you put on there is making this echo. It's bouncing off the trees, and coming right to me. Like I said, in July of 2020, when we came and I was before you the last time, before you did this study, I explained to you that this was what was going on. And, I didn't have any proof. I just knew. Only by the sound. Well, this now has gotten far worse. There's a lot more people. It's there. In the morning at 8 o'clock, you have 32 people with those paddles.
I'm very well aware of there's a lot of people playing pickleball.
And you also realize it's like having a bunch of, with that machine gun, having other, having like a barrel loaded and ready to go. There's 32 people sitting at the gates waiting. There is no intermission. Okay, this is one right after the other. There's 32 people sitting there waiting to get in the minute those courts are done. When one person is done, 10 seconds later, the next court is, the next bunch of people is right in there.
All right, so unless the board has some input, I'd like to ask if myself, town manager, and yourself, if you would be open to sitting down and discussing few options. What they are, I have no idea, but I have a couple possibilities that at least something to open the dialogue and have some discussion. If you'd be okay with that?
I am more than willing to do that whenever you'd like, but I would really like those parks shut down now and have that discussion. If you want it tomorrow morning, I'll be there and we will put something together or do something to stop this sound, but it needs to be stopped. Please, I'm asking you. I know you have the power and the ability to stop this and do this. This is really, truly affecting my health. And I have a gentleman that's living with me at the moment that can attest to that. He goes out, he's a smoker, he sits on the deck and has a cigarette, and it's just unbearable. He's rushing to get his cigarette because it's that bad. I'm confined to my house. I have to sit in my house, even with my windows closed and my AC unit on, I can still hear the popping. I hear the popping in my sleep now. I wake up in the middle of the night. This has been going on for years. But now
that is what I hear from so many people, and that's actually what happened to myself as well. And my
I'm not
neighbors.
sleeping well. I'm waking up thinking I'm hearing it. I see that it's light outside. I'm hearing that noise. It's bad. And the fact that I have to be confined to my home, my home was there before pickleball was even thought of around here. I had my serenity, my peace. I need that for me, as you do in your home, every one of you. You want to go home, be there, and go home to the serenity that you have. That's all I'm asking. Please, shut this park down till we can figure this problem out. And I will work with Mr. Collins on whatever he wants and the board to figure out. And I have what soundproofing experts say need to be done. And if relocating has to be done, whatever, I will do and help you figure out what we can do to do that, to not have to relocate, to fix it so it doesn't, this problem does not exist anymore till it goes away. I will work with you, whatever you need from me.
All right, so at that point, unless the board would like to say anything, my suggestion is, I don't think I can do it this week, but next week, I'd be happy to have a sit-down discussion with you, with the town manager, to see if we can have a further discussion.
If I can step. So, you're a changed person from what we've seen in the past. I can see that. You're beaten up by this, and I sympathize with your issue. I don't understand it. I understand the noise, but it must be driving you out of your mind, and I feel badly for that. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I don't know that the town wants to make a structure with a roof and sidewalls on it, and because then you open up you don't have you need supervision there to make sure that there's nothing going on within inside of that building. So there's a lot more than just putting up walls and ceilings on it.
Yeah, Ernie can shut down these courts if he likes with the science and the data.
But the cost, I'm talking about people going inside the boxes and causing problems inside the box.
I
So,
appreciate your concern where you think money is the issue here.
It's not, I'm not thinking money at all.
Oh, no, well, you said the cost of building
I didn't
these.
say the cost at all. I'm not.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
not
misunderstood
looking
you.
at- The cost isn't what bothers me. I mean, it costs, but I don't know that we want to own the building and then have to provide security there as well, because it will be a building, and once you're behind there. My concern is, I like your idea about sitting down, John, but being as involved as you are with pickleball, do you think you have a conflict with that?
Well, that's why, I mean, I'm staying quiet now, but I also understand the noise, and I understand the traffic, and I'm maybe the best person to understand the sound and the effects of it. But if the board feels someone else should do it, I'm okay with that too. I'm just trying to put out a olive branch of communication to see if I can come up with maybe some temporary remedies in the meanwhile.
Would you be willing to limit the days to 4 days?
I mean, personally, what I was willing to do was have a sit-down conversation with the town manager, with Ernie, and we can have a communication.
I think that we're dealing with someone who's ready for a compromise, perhaps, and in terms of limiting days, if that was a possibility that we could vote on tonight.
Oh.
Can I ask you what's your,
No, let him finish.
I mean, you seem to be in confusion of what you should do.
No, I'm not in confusion.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, I have, there's still a lot of people here that still have to be tended to on the agenda. At the same time, I opened up, let's have a conversation and see where that goes. That's what I'm asking. If
I agreed to that. I am
Yeah.
fully agreeable to that, but what I'd like to do is at least temporarily either shut this down or put a major limit on the time at that park to alleviate in between there some time. I know you have the ability to do that. I'm just asking as a taxpayer, to you, I'm asking you to do this. Until we can come up with a solution, you're asking me, I will give you all the help in the world. I will do whatever it takes. This has been 5 years of this going on. And it's really just at the end now. It has truly affected my health. This has become a health issue. This is not just a noise that's annoying or anything else. It has gone above and beyond that. It really has. And I really want to work with you and do this. I do. But I would really appreciate it if you could at least, and I will compromise if you can cut out some days and times for now versus shutting the park down, yes, altogether. But it has really gotten to a point where, I mean, I could see if this was something that was like a highway or something that, you're asking us to shut this down, but this is a recreational park. It's not like a heart or a lung. It is with me.
No, I mean, Ernie,
I hope you understand, or at least could come down and sit and listen to how bad it is.
I totally understand, and that's what, where I'm talking about having a discussion. I can just tell you my schedule, and again, if the board's okay with me being it, if not, I am an avid pickleballer, so that's full disclosure. If someone else wants to, step in and it's my stunt double, if you will, that's fine. If not, next week, I can make some time if you're available next week, and that's what I'm offering. Beyond that, that's what I'm,
So
Not hearing from-
what you're saying is you want to meet, and then you're not going to shut anything down or limit anything, but you want to meet next week.
that's what I'm saying to you right now. Does anyone else from the board have any input?
Could, prior to that meeting, I mean, I sympathize with everything you're saying, and that noise must be very, very difficult to live with. I'm wondering if rather than saying nothing's going to change and you'll have a conversation sometime next week, I don't know what's available to mitigate the sound. Could we start looking into kinds of things that are available? Could we start looking into maybe limiting hours or days, and start the process of looking into what can be done before another week and a few days go by, and starting the conversation then?
Well, that's, to be my intention would be between now and then to have, my intention would to come with, maybe something to modify the noise. But again, I have a few thoughts at the same time. You're talking about a roof and a closure. I mean, there's a lot.
How about one day for Ernie? How about one day, Sunday? Shut it down, one day.
I don't know if we could just shut
Maybe
it
a
down
Monday.
without a public hearing and.
Without stepping over what, and I appreciate everything that you're attempting to do to try to resolve this, but you do understand too that if I push this and I go to court, and I'm going to win if I do, and I'm going to tell you that right now, you're not going to have a say at all if I win. It is going to be up to the courts. I'm being nice, I'm talking to you, and I'm not pleading, but I am asking you, please shut this court down till we can find a problem. I realize and if you can limit some days for me until we can have our meeting, I would greatly appreciate that.
Rodney?
And I don't want to have to go to court. I really don't. And I know you don't want to either.
I'm okay with it.
So, but I will go to court, and I assure you it will get shut down, and then you won't have any choice. It'll be up to the courts, and it'll be tied up in the courts. But I'm asking you nicely now, and
Mr. Collins.
to at least shut this down or make some type of couple days off, like Rob had said, and until we can have the meeting and go from there.
Mr. Collins?
So, obviously, anything involving a roof, anything involving walls, we're not going to be able to do that this summer or any time in the distant future. So, I did have a conversation with these two gentlemen. I listened intently to Mr. Barros. I thought it was Thursday, maybe it was Friday. But at any rate, I listened. No, you're right, it was Friday. But the bottom line here is I think there is room for a little bit of compromise and consensus versus doing nothing versus shutting it down and not allowing it at all. I think, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Barros, but I think that if we have further discussions and deliberations, I think we can avoid litigation. and I don't want to get into that in case there is, but I will say this. My suggestion to the board, and it's only a suggestion, and you may not like it, is to shut it down on Sundays and give them a day of rest. And that was just mentioned a couple minutes ago. It's a start in good faith for us to continue the dialogue. I know that it's going to upset pickleball players, but I'm just trying to reach a compromise and a consensus for the sole purpose of having constructive dialogue so that we can come up with some amicable option, a menu option to bring back to the board that you can digest and to look over. And you may like them, you may not like them. He may like them, he may not like them. But I think it's a start and it's a show of good faith, that's all.
I would support.
So with that said,
No.
I'll make the motion to, for the board to take a position on shutting down the pickleball in a good faith effort after hearing Mr. Barrows until we meet further
You're talking referring to Sunday.
on Sunday specifically, yeah.
I would second that.
What about early mornings? Would you just go with the,
Not on
They're gonna
Sunday.
sit down.
Sunday
They're going to sit down and come up with,
and work from there? So you'd have Sunday would be pickleball free, and then see if we can come up with something after.
They're still going to meet.
I really can't hear you.
yeah, you know.
Just the pickleball restriction would be, so on Sundays, there would be no pickleball at the court.
That would be a start.
Yes, that would be a good start. And see, whether you want a late start or something. I can understand that this is something
I would settle for no pickleball on Sunday at all.
so we can, and then we can negotiate with.
And I would like to get a meeting right now of when we can sit down and discuss what we do from here, if we could, in the same breath as setting the closing on Sunday and getting a meeting cemented right now, if we could.
I will contact you tomorrow, Mr. Barrows, or somebody from my staff will.
And it probably would be next week? You said
Yes,
maybe next
I
week?
can't speak for any board member, but we will arrange something and
I'll make the time next week.
get a date and
Thank
time
you.
for you.
Thank you very much. And yes, closing down on Sunday would work for me for now.
You have a motion.
All right. That's
Right,
it's
you have a
a foot in the door, All right. It's a foot in the door. It's a start, a way to go start.
I thank you for that start.
Any further discussion? Not hearing any, so I have a first and I have a second.
Yes.
Or a first and second. First and second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
I guess I'm a yes. Or I'm gonna abstain. For the record, I am an avid pickleballer. Not that it matters. For
I'll
the
be
record.
honest with you, I don't have a problem with the sport. To each his own. But when it becomes an issue like this, where there is a negative and it really, truly affects what goes on, I understand, and I'm not looking backwards because it doesn't help, but all of this should have been done before this even was put in a residential zone. The information was out there and everything, and it just was overlooked.
I get it. Town manager will be in touch with you tomorrow, and I'll be in touch with the town manager first thing in the
Thank you.
morning with my schedule.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.
I'm going to jump to special event, Head of the Ponds Regatta, September 10th, 2023.
Thank you. My name is Alan Robinson. I live in Falmouth. John,
Oh, hi, Alan.
It's good to see you.
Nice to see
and it's
you.
good to see you all. I've seen some of you on Zoom, and this is our fourth year of the regatta. We started it during the heat of COVID, and it's been a successful regatta, and we want to do the same thing this year. I just have to call attention I just read the information that was in your packet. I just read it late this afternoon. And it seems like the paragraph that's here was abstracted from our first application back in 2020 when we said 25 participants, which was the case back in 2020. Because if you read that very last part of that first sentence, two-seat boats, cohabitors only. That was like father and daughter or husband and wife rowing together because of COVID. So this paragraph is the out-of-date paragraph. The number that I believe we submitted this year is 50. Everything else is the same. Although not everyone will have departed by 9:30, will be departing by 9:30. So I'm sorry to raise these little details, but it worked really well last year when we had approximately 50. And we worked very closely with the Make a Splash folks and with Sue Dengel. And I think Sue can attest that we understand how we'll work together, and
Okay.
it'll all work in the parking lot.
So with those notable changes or corrections in the application, does anybody have any questions? Do I hear a motion to approve
A motion
the
to
head of the Ponds
approve
Regatta?
Second.
The Ponds Regatta.
Second.
First, second. Any discussion? Not having any. Mr. Whedon?
Yes.
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 And I'm a yes.
Thank you all.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you. It's a wonderful regatta, but it's a wonderful venue that we hosted on. Mashpee Wakeby Pond is a true gem. Best
Great.
place to row in the entire Cape.
Great to hear.
So thank you.
Thank you. And we'll jump right into following 9:30 at 10 o'clock, special events. Make a Splash, September 10th, 2023, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Adequan Park. Susan, thank you.
Hi, thanks. I don't have anything with me, but I think you have our flyer in your packet. It's the same thing that we've been doing for the last 2 years. This will be our third year. Last year, we doubled the number of swimmers we had. We're hoping to be over 20 this year. We have kayakers that accompany them, or paddle boarders, and we have 2 vessels from DNR who will be accompanying the swimmers as well. So we're going to just stretch it out a little bit. We arrived at the same time as they were coming in last year. We were coming in to go out. They were coming out of the water. It was a little tight. So this year we've put a half-hour padding in there. Should be better.
Great.
To approve, Make a Splash, September 10th.
Second.
All right, we have a first and we have a second. Any discussion? Not hearing any.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
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 and I'm a yes.
Thank you.
Sorry for the wait.
That's okay.
See you then.
All right, Mashpee, I know we're jumping around here, so if I jump out of road, just keep me honest here. Mashpee Community Garden Advisory Committee, Cheryl Carberry, term expires June 30th, 2026.
A motion to accept her resignation with a letter.
I'll second that motion.
First and second, any discussion? Not hearing any. Mr. Whedon?
Yes.
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 And I'm a yes. Affordable Housing Committee, Stephanie Coleman, term expires June 30th, 2024. And again, I'm sorry, this is resignations, so.
A motion to approve with a letter of gratitude.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. Mr. Whedon?
Yes.
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 And I'm a yes. Another resignation, Conservation Commission, Charles Dalton, term expires June 30th, 2024.
A motion to approve with regret.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Not hearing any. Mr. Whedon?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Under the, this line item of appointments and resignations, on the July 13th meeting, the Conservation Commission, they also voted to appoint to the Environmental Oversight Committee. The results of that vote were that the Chair Paul Colombo serve on the environmental oversight. I'd like to add an item to our agenda to ratify their decision and reaffirm their decision to appoint Mr. Chair Paul Colombo
right,
to
so-
the Environmental Oversight.
So you're making a motion to add the advisory
Correct.
to the agenda. So I have a first, do I have a second?
I'll give you a second.
Okay, for a second, any discussion? Not? Roll call?
Yes.
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 And I'm a yes. Okay, so now your motion would be,
My motion is to reaffirm the CONSCOM's vote to appoint Chair Paul Colombo to the Environmental Oversight Committee for the term of 1 year, consistent with the other timelines.
okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have first and second. Any discussion? Not hearing any? David?
Yes.
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 And I'm a yes. Barnstable County Home Consortium Advisory Council, Gary Schuman.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a first and second. Any discussion?
Yes, we're still not following policy 001. So this has nothing to do with Mr. Schuman. It has nothing to do with the appointment. It has to do with following the policy that we have. And the policy hasn't been followed. And I raised this point, I think this is the third time I've raised it. I think it's really important because if you're not following a policy consistently, it, I believe, puts the town in jeopardy for the times you can't pick and choose when you follow policy. So we haven't followed policy 001 here.
So the last appointment we just did, how do we follow the policy?
That's different. As far as I can see,
I don't think so. In fact, if you read the policy, we can't pick and choose.
Oh, I'm not.
How we're going to approve, you follow the policy. The
Yeah.
policy is a basis for us to move forward. And, you know, again, if there's all parts of this policy, and I know we're going to get to it soon enough, but I mean, the intent is to keep us, you know, that we're moving forward and we're following some type of structure. So, but
It was just reaffirming.
The last one,
Mr.
the EOC was that one's different because it's one of the 4 or 5 that we have to vote on. So that's where I see a difference with that one.
but we have to vote on everyone.
I don't want to.
So all appointments we have to vote on, and that's what the policy relates to.
Right. And I think when we get to the discussion regarding policy 001, I'll be more than happy to take your thoughts and your suggestions on any revisions or amendments. But in the meantime, I would just distinguish the difference between something that is coming before you that's a reappointment versus an appointment. And I would also distinguish a little difference in regards to a position that is filled by virtue of being a certain member to a committee, a commission, or council in which that group is delegating a person for whatever role it is. And that happens like with, I think, CIP. There's somebody from the Finance Committee that is possibly on there, but it's generally selected by the Finance Committee itself. That's all.
Mr. Chair, just so you know, Mr. Schuman is here. So I don't know if this is an interview that you would do, because I don't know where to send this person to get conference.
Right, and that's the, but again, we just, because the last appointment we just did was someone who just got appointed by a committee, no different than a recommendation to join a committee. And that still relates, it falls back on the policy.
It's different. It's different.
So,
Because anybody can go to the home consortium, John. But it has to be a member from the
Mary,
Pickleball that goes.
I appreciate it, but we have continued to, we're trying to follow the policy with, basic common sense, but, so Barnstable County Home Consortium Advisory Council, it's an appointment, right? We're the appointing authority, so how else do we?
The only thing that I would add is I believe it was advertised, and
It has been advertised.
and I believe he was the only
He's
candidate.
the only candidate, yes.
So it's advertised, he's the only candidate, and he's in front of us today. So what,
I have no issue at all with Mr. Schuman. I have no issue would have no issue with moving it forward. As I've stated, we have, and I wouldn't have voted on the last candidate if I didn't see that as different. I thought that was different in that it was a Concom vote to another committee, to represent to another committee. So I saw that as different, or I wouldn't have voted on that. We have a policy. We follow it sometimes. You can't, as a board, I believe you put the town in jeopardy when you have a policy that you follow sometimes, and you follow it deciding what the intent is. It's nothing to do with intent. It's a policy that has clear steps, and until we change that policy, and we can do that tonight, I believe we have to follow it.
but we just did the same appointment.
I think I...
We didn't follow,
I think I explained that, and I think the town manager did as well. It's a different situation, or as I said to you, I would have said the same thing then. So I'm not picking and choosing. I'm really advocating for adhering to the policy that we say we follow. Again, it has nothing to do with the ZBA or Ms.
Is this
Same
appointment,
where?
I have a question. Is this appointment coming from the affordable housing? No, this is just an appointment that anybody from the public can step into.
Apply to, yes.
So this is not a recommendation from a board. This is a man that's coming before us with his policy, his letter of interest that he wants to apply. So nobody's giving him, we will give him the
he
recommendation.
doesn't have a committee.
He's not on a committee.
There's no
that's
committee
being
to
recommended
recommend
from.
and to.
Okay.
Anybody can apply.
Thank you for clarifying that, because the second one is different from that. And I read Mr. Schuman's letter, and it has nothing to do with the individual or the committee.
And again, I mean, reading through the whole policy, like all weekend long, there's a lot of, what I'm afraid of is when we get this talking about the policy, there's so few members joining committees and so a lack of interest, if you will. I don't want to make it so hard that we have committees that are all vacant seats because everyone's like, oh, it's just too much
I have a question.
to join a committee.
Wayne, how long has this been vacant?
Since, what the heck is your name, anyway? Since Arden left it, probably 3 months.
6 months.
6 months.
Whoever I am.
Okay, so in 6 months, no one else has come forward to,
No.
It's getting late.
No. And I would think that what you're doing here is, when Mr. Schuman comes to Mike, is interviewing him for the
Right, for the
position and make an
position.
appointment or not.
okay, so Mr. Schuman?
Mr. Schuman, come on up, please.
Hi, Gary, thank you. That did have nothing to do with you.
Gary, would you mind just give us like a quick reason why you'd like to join this committee?
Sure. I was fortunate enough to be appointed to the Affordable Housing Committee a handful of months ago because of the critical nature of the issue. And congratulations to the earlier part of the meeting. I think water and housing are the two major factors. I think with the change in administration, having a new governor, new funding, and a new focus, there seems to be a momentum or at least positive activity around housing. Recently LeClaire Village broke ground. You can go over there now and actually start seeing walls going up. There's been money granted towards 209 Old Barnstable towards looking at the feasibility for, what's called the VFW site. So there's a lot of activity. What I'd like to do is, the position has been vacant. I am not being supported by another committee. I'm just doing this as a citizen. And I'd like to learn from the folks on the committee what other towns are doing so I can make myself more effective and help, the people of Mashpee more. So it's really a chance to network, to listen to what other towns are doing that may be different that we're not looking at, to help continue the momentum that we seem to have going now. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Gary. Does anyone on the board have any questions?
Yes. So do you have any background at all in housing, construction, or land use, or density? Are you aware of the bylaws in the town?
Yeah, I'm a realtor by trade, but that's fairly new. That's only the past few years. Before that, my background is all in technology with software startups, doing a lot of marketing, market development, trying to build companies. So I originally started out, my first associate's degree was in architectural engineering and technology. I intended to go that way. I took a sidestep into software, and now I'm back into that. So is a track record for a long time? No. It's only fairly recent, but being aware of the challenges and the issues and wanting to help.
Have you been in the town of Mashpee for a while now?
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
And you're on the Affordable Housing Committee.
Now I am. Yeah. And I see the value of it and the need for it, and that's why I want to continue to do more, as a volunteer.
I'm just happy that we need more people that want to volunteer and get involved. So I just don't want to discourage anybody from doing so.
No, I agree, and, I understand a board member Colombo's point in adhering to the policy. I thankful for the clarity and explaining that this seems uniquely different. I do not discourage anyone from going out and joining other committees to gain your insight and knowledge and your breadth of knowledge. So I commend you for actually, offering up your time to do that, to better yourself on the local committee.
Thank you.
So
I'm all set. A motion to, anybody else? No? A motion to approve Gary Schumann's appointment to the Barnstable County Home Consortium Advisory Consultant.
I'll second the motion.
all right, first and second. Any discussion? Not hearing any? Mr. Whedon?
Yes.
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 And I'm a yes. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
All right, thanks.
Thank you for stepping up.
And
Next up-
Sharon's here too.
What's that?
Sharon's here in the back.
Yep.
Zoning board.
So Zoning Board of Appeals, Sharon Sangalier?
Sangalier.
Okay.
Never come up.
So, yeah, Sharon, if you don't mind coming up. So I know we're gonna talk about the policy. And what I did notice in the policy is, you are a participant on the zoning board.
I'm currently an associate member of the board.
So, and when I read the policy, the problem what I find is, and there's definitely holes, there's serious holes in our policy.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to negatively or punish applicants when she has served over almost 6 years, I believe, as associate.
Fall of 17, yes.
As an associate member, and that's basically, I look at this, the zoning board, and I think the planning board is the other committee that I could think of that has a bench or a farm system.
No, we're independently elected.
No, I get that, but as far as an associate member. So in this case, zoning board, you are correct, there's a distinction. And in this committee, you have as many as 5 associates, I believe.
There's 5 members and then 5 or 6 of them, yeah.
Okay, so, and again, these associates, I look at it as, they're paying their dues, they're looking for an opportunity to become a full-fledged member, and they're sitting there participating and learning the trade, if you will. You know, someone coming from the outside and says, hey, I want to be on that committee, I think, you know, in that case, they should learn their dues. And there's a lot of, you know, very specific, very, you know, you got to dig into the zoning to understand zoning and the whole thing. I don't understand it. And it would take a long time for even just to understand things at an elementary level. So I feel that, you know, that's something that we shouldn't punish someone because we don't have verbiage in here about associate members ascending into the position. So with that,
We did everything.
excuse me?
We did everything.
So, we do have a recommendation from the zoning board where they took, and can you see the?
The zoning board recommended associate member Sharon Shangler strongly recommend, where the other associate members were
all recommended.
Recommended.
Yep.
So
And that took place on the Wednesday, July 12th.
So they took a vote.
Correct.
My understanding, they followed the policy as far as that goes. And again, I believe the worthiness of someone that serves almost 6 years on a committee waiting to become a zoning board member, and unfortunately, the associate members beyond that, there's nothing and no mention of that because, again, it only pertains to the zoning board. It's a very unique board because they have so many associate members.
Okay,
All
so
those years it was-
it's where it's running so late. I make a motion to approve her member.
If you don't mind,
Okay.
I just would like, if we can put that on hold, can you tell us why you're, looking to become a full-fledged member of the zoning board and
Well, I can tell you about my first year in, John Furbish said, would you be interested in becoming a full-fledged member? And I was like, no, because there is so much to learn about zoning that I would say up until the 5th year, I still don't know everything, but I didn't even feel comfortable. Now I feel comfortable. I also never did anything with it, but I have a degree in geography with a concentration in public administration. So I planned on being a town planner way back when I was 21. I've never been a town planner, but this is something that interests me. It's not, I enjoy doing what I'm doing. If you chose not to appoint me, I'd still be an associate member. I find it interesting.
It's a great response. Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions
I think it's
for the candidate?
a
Do we
good
have a motion?
A motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
I have a first and second for Sharon Zangler, Zoning Board of Appeals. Any discussion? Not hearing any? Mr. Whedon?
Yes.
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 And I'm a yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You earned it. Yes, you have. Discussion and approval of the following special events, temporary sign permits, one-day liquor licenses.
I do have a notice on the one-day liquor license. they will not be seeking a liquor license for the Christmas parade,
Okay, so the permit is for
just for sign, temporary sign
sign an event
in the event.
excluding liquor license.
Right.
Okay, do I hear a motion stating so?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a first and second to approve the annual Mashpee Chamber of Commerce Christmas Parade, minus the liquor license. Any discussion? Not hearing any? Okay,
Yes.
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 and I'm a yes. All right. We did those last two. Communications and correspondence. Old business, new business. I guess we jump into discussion amending Select Board Policy 001. Anyone want to jump in, or
The only
do we?
thing that I would change, it's in here, and I didn't realize it was in here, is that the selectmen have a liaison to these boards. So when there is a vacancy and they are interviewing, the liaison should be invited to sit in on that, and that's how the liaison can bring it back to us as a board.
That's actually,
I mean, we're already assigned.
That's interesting.
And it says right here, it is the responsibility of the board, commission, committee, chairperson to coordinate the scheduling of each interview and to notify the Board of Selectmen as to the time and location of the interview. It's strongly recommended that the selectmen's liaison to the board, commission, committee, and council in which the vacancy exists have the opportunity to participate in the interview process. All provisions of the open meeting law shall be adhered to.
So
There you go.
Are you suggesting a change or no?
No,
You
it's
just-
stated
a
right there
clarification,
that,
it's already there.
that we should be invited to the board when they're interviewing clients to come in. That way, it saves a lot of time and energy.
Okay,